So I'd like to talk a little bit about kind of like the history of Austria, right? So when you start talking about Austrian wine, in 1985, right, we had this whole, ethylene glycol or diethylene glycol rather scandal. And people were adding it to wines to make them seem to be late harvest wines, to make them come off as sweeter. And this was discovered and created a crisis for Austrian wine, right? And inevitably, we overcame this, and around 2000 or so, people started to get back into Austrian wine and like kind of like regain that trust, I guess. So what a time it was. How did it did you witness any of this happening? Like, was it affecting your family at the time? And what did you see from that?
So yeah, I was just one when it happened.
Yeah.
No, we have been a very tiny wine producing as a winery. We have been a mixed farm, so it didn't affect us at all because we sold 100% of our wines here in the region and to private customers. So actually, we didn't have any effect of that. But it's been a very big influence on the whole wine business, and I think it's been the best thing that happened, because the other hand, maybe we would never had a chance to grow as our own small winery, to get our own winery, because there have been so many big producers which were dominating the market with very low prices. There have been so many cooperatives. They were really dumping the market, and so when they were gone, the smaller wine producers suddenly had the chance to grow and to get their own wines on the market. Nobody was interested before in the small producers, and I think this was the most important development for Austrian wine production, and to get back to high quality ideas in the production. Before, it was just a mass production, and it was important for them to get cheap mass-produced grapes and wine, and then suddenly everything changed. Of course, it was hard for the business, for the wine production in Austria, but it was the best chance for us small producers, actually.
That's beautiful.
That the winery wouldn't exist when it wouldn't have happened.
Wow, that's very interesting, because I mean, a beautiful thing to come from such a struggle for the industry. That was very cool. And I guess a lot of the Austrian classifications kind of came about because of this as well, right? Which I've been researching them. There are a lot of different classifications, and I feel like it can be a little bit overwhelming and confusing, especially for American consumers. So is there a way that you would kind of like simplify this and describe it to people?
You mean the basic classification of quality wine and sweet wine and something like that, or the regional classification, the origins?
So,
or
I mean,
both?
the difference between all of them. So, I mean, I was looking into it. So we have the Qualitas wine, and then we have, Wachau. They have, the whole like the Federspiel, like Smarg situation, and then in Carnuntum you have your own classification of origins as well, right? So I guess an interesting part of it is, how did it come to be like so different regionally as well, like under the overarching like Austrian classifications, I guess?
Yeah, that's a big problem we are trying to handle right now. Actually, there was no classification of origin before. It didn't exist in Austria. The first one was created 15 years ago with the DSC, which was a single wine, actually, which was classified as Weinviertel origin wine. There is the big classification of qualities in the wine levels. So, what's the quality of the grapes you're harvesting, which is just interesting actually for sweet wines, for the sweet wine production, like Auslese or Bernerslese, but generally it's quality wine. And so the
Uh-oh, you're frozen.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, you're back. Hi.
Yeah, okay, sorry, we had a technical malfunction.
Sorry,
No,
can you hear me?
Yes, we can
Yeah.
hear you now.
Okay. So that the first classification of origin happened just 15 years ago in Austria. So it is really, really young, and that's maybe the problem because every region did its own little classification, and now we are trying to bring everything together. And what we did, or what Carnuntum did, and so many other wine-growing regions are following now, is we used the Romanic system of the pyramid of origin, like regional wine, village wine, and on top we have the single vineyard wines with the classified Premier Crus on the very top, which is the very typical classification. You can find it all over the old world. I have here the pyramid, you know, starting on the lower part, regional wine, village wine, single vineyard, and on top the classified Premier Cru wines, which is, I think, easy to understand. So you have the biggest origin, you have the regional wines, which are the basic wines showing the region, then you have smaller origins from the village, and the top are the single vineyard wines. And I think this is something people can understand because it's used all over the old world producing countries, and we just have to bring our wines into the system. And we did it in Carnuntum, and when all the other wine-growing regions are following, then we'll have one system, and you can show the pyramid everywhere. In every region you are. And some regions are known for white wines, so they are including Grüne Veltliner or Riesling, and other regions are known for red wines, and they are including Zweig, Blaufränkisch or Blancs, or the Burgundian whites. And so you have the same system, but you have different grape varieties. But when you are talking about origin, the grape variety is not the most important factor actually. So I think this will be a process for the next 10 years maybe, and then it will get more unique or more closer together and more understandable for all the people. But I agree, it's completely confusing at the moment, yes. But politics is very slow.
Yeah.
So, you know, as we've said, you're, you know, based in Carnuntum. How would you how would you kind of describe the climate in Carnuntum, and sort of how does that affect the like regional style of wines kind of in y'all's area?
Yeah, so if you know, do you want me to share a map? I have it here, I think. Yeah, I'm just starting at the in the meanwhile. We are located on the very east of Austria, so we are on the border to Slovakia and Hungary, as mentioned, which means that we have more influences coming from Hungary, from Croatia, all the Mediterranean influences, and this is something which is actually here we are. Can you see the map?
Yes.
Okay.
Yay!
So, yeah, can you see it? So we are in the middle now. You can see Vienna on the left side, Wien, and Bratislava on the right side, which is actually Slovakia. So we are directly on the border to Slovakia. And here you see, in the middle of this, you can see the red circle. And there our winery is located in Göttlersbrunn, and all these orange parts are the vineyards. They are facing southeast, the vineyards are facing southeast. There's a big Pannonian Hungarian lowland with very warm air and warm influences coming into the valley where we are growing our wines. And the big lake Neusiedl, which is bringing warm air too. In the north, we have the river Danube and the continental climate. So this river and the big forests around the river and on top of the hillside is bringing cooler aspects. So we have cooler winds and cooler influences coming from the northern region. So we are in this very unique situation, quite in the middle of the Pannonian and the continental climate. And so we are very, very windy in this region because of this big two impacts we have. I can show you a picture. So this is Göttlersbrunn. wine growing village, actually surrounded by the hillside. You see these orange dots are the hillside. So we have the hills, there is gravel on top, we have the big forest, the Danube, it's very windy, all there. This is the village. Can you see the picture?
Ooh,
Beautiful.
beautiful.
So it is really surrounded by the vineyards, and you see the turbines, the windmills. You see the big forest on top of the hillside. So it is really a very windy region with this warm influences coming from southeast area and the cooler aspects coming from the north, which means we have big differences in day and night temperatures. It's getting very hot and very warm during the day. The hillside is gravelly, stony. It's getting very hot there, but then during the night the cool wind is coming down from the forest and from the hillside and bringing very cool aspects and cool influences. And I think that's the most important part, which is influencing our wines. Having the warm and very ripe structure of the wine, but the cooler and spicy impacts from the northern areas here, which is very unique in Austria, and you will not find any other region which is having this combination or this unique combination of those two climates. Here you see the family, actually, my father and me on the left side.
It's a great hat that he has on.
Yeah. Yeah, my sister, my mother, my kids, my husband, my brother-in-law on the right side. So, yeah, I just wanted to show you another picture of the vineyard.
Oh, so beautiful.
Oh,
Yeah, so hand harvest, everything hand harvest, which is really important for us. And here you see the cellar. So it's everything. We work quite a lot with the forklift, not with pumps, to have a very gentle fermentation. I think that's it. I wanted to show you another picture of the vineyards, but I didn't find it now. Here we go. Here it is. So that's a very important vineyard. Can you see it?
Yes.
A very important vineyard on the hillside, actually, of the village. Again, the forest on top and the windmills. So yeah, so what's our style? We have main production is red wine, but we have around 40% white wine still. We have ripe fruit. We have very balanced acidity, even in the Grüne Veltliner. For example, the Grüne Veltliner Christina, you see acidity is good and is lively, but it's not disturbing, it's not rough. It's a very balanced and good integrated acidity due to the warm aspects coming from southeast and the lesser soil, so there are good nutritions in the soils. And it's same with the red wines. It's very highly ripened grapes and highly ripened aromas, but you have nice tannin, you have great spice on the palate, which is balancing the fruit-driven style, and acidity is still very important for us too.
That's great. I love that. I love those maps and those pictures. That was very informative. So yeah, thank you for sharing that. So we're gonna kind of wrap it up here. So kind of just our last question, sort of what's next for you, Weingut Netzl, your Christina line? What do you kind of see, you know, what's on the horizon? Any new wines you guys are working on that you could share with us, or, you know, just kind of anything that you're really looking forward to in this next year or two?
Yeah, so with the Christina line, there's coming a new wine at Zweigelt, which is a very important wine for me too, because it's actually our main production, and I try to find a very fruit-driven style of Zweigelt. I think it's very nice. I'm really looking forward to get some feedbacks, but we are just bottling it in April, so I wanted to give it a little bit more aging than the other wines. With the Netzl wines, we are going even a step higher as we're going, or the full line is going to be classified organic with vintage 2021. So it will be the first vintage which is definitely certified, so we can put it on the label finally. We have a big project. We are enlarging the cellar, both the cellar beneath the earth and the production on top of it. So there will be a new vinification line for the harvest. Hopefully we finish it for the harvest. There will be a new cellar part for the barrels to age, thinking about some bigger barrels too. Maybe an amphora for the Christina line. I'm not sure, but no. So yeah, there's something new every year. I am full of ideas actually. And yeah, some development definitely we are doing. Yeah. What else?
I'm sure you will have more ideas, of course.
Yeah.
Oh man, that is so beautiful. Like, thank you so much for joining us to talk about this. It has been really beautiful, inspiring.
Yeah.
Me and Mallory both are like dying to get to Austria. I mean, travel to so many wine regions, but Austria especially. I mean, it looks absolutely beautiful. So we're excited that, you know, one day, fingers crossed, like we'll get there and see it, see the Danube, see the forest. Like,
you have to, because you can only feel the region when you are here, and you will never.
I love that. Yeah, our manager at the wine shop, Liz, she went to Austria. It was right before the pandemic began, right? Like I think last March.
It was in February.
Okay, right before, and it was so beautiful. And she said the same thing. She said, "I always loved Austrian wine, but I didn't have like a full appreciation until I went there and saw it." So very exciting to do it one day.
Yeah.
But
yeah. You will definitely. Yeah. Very. Let's say next year.
Yeah, next year.
Yes, 2020. Here we go. That's great.